Government back open for business after the dumbest shutdown in history caused $90 billion in economic damage. President Trump putting the Dems on notice that they'll pay a price.
We will never give in to extortion, because that's what it was. I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. The vast majority of congressional Democrats were happy for millions of Americans to suffer. They really went out and they could appease the fringe benefits of their far-left base, but that didn't work out because now their far-left base is angrier than ever before.
Dems are still salty about how they got bupkis out of the shutdown. The leathery lioness of politics and Nancy Pelosi raging while battling the wind.
You are the con job. You are the scam. You do not believe in science or responsibility or anything, and it's all about money in the pocket of your friends and billionaires, as we have seen even with health care.
Is the shutdown worth it? Yeah, I think so. I hate it, but yeah, it was worth it.
By shutting the government down, we were able to focus on and get everybody else focused on the unaffordability of health care across this country.
Fighting to lift up the quality of life of everyday Americans will always be worth it.
So, Dana, the shutdown cost $90 billion. The first shutdown under Carter cost $700,000. So it shows you that we're just not really good at these shutdowns. But do you think the Dems are going to pay a price? You're going to have to play these clips when they say the shutdown was worth it, because will people remember this by the midterms?
It's unlikely that they will. However, this deal only goes until the end of January. And if the Democrats feel like it was worth it, you think they wouldn't do it to the American people again? And if you look at those clips about how they say it was worth it, think about if you were one of those people who missed a wedding because your flight was canceled, or you didn't get home in time for Little League, or you had to pay out of pocket for a hotel room because your flight was canceled again and you couldn't get home. I mean, the Democrats are saying that you are expendable, that it was okay, it was worth it, because now we're going to talk about subsidies for Obamacare. Said Obamacare was a disaster at the time in 2012, 2013, or 2012. And I don't really want to hear a Democrat talk about how Obamacare is unaffordable without them explaining why.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the COVID subsidies that ratcheted all of this up. And you're going to shut down the government again because of that? The other thing that is happening for them that might work in their favor in the long run is they're finally having the fight that they needed to have for a long time. Senator Cory Booker is the first senator that has said that Chuck Schumer needs to go. Other Democrats had said that, like Ro Khanna on the congressional side, but no other Democrats on the Senate side had. And now you're seeing that. So there might be a way for the Democrats to shake things up, to try to get some new leadership, some generational changes that might help them in the long run, at least have some new energy in the party.
Well said. You know, Jesse, how convenient was it as the shutdown ended? Out comes the Epstein files. And for like 2 hours last night, it captivated the lemmings in the media. We stand by and we just watch it collapse like Brian Stelter on a wicker chair. It's like, are you at all surprised by the timing of that?
No, obviously they had it, and they only released 3 emails at first.
Yeah.
And the Republicans were like, we're not going to play that game. We just dumped it all. And then you saw the context, and the context was he never did anything. It's a lot of innuendo, and they're going to smear him with that, just like they did with the Russia hoax. You hang this dark, foreboding cloud over the president's head, and everybody plays guessing games, and all of a sudden you lose the House. It's not going to happen this time, because now and online, we can go and expose the BS instantaneously. Now, the shutdown might have legs, and here's why. We'll always remember Hakeem's sombrero. That will never go away. And anytime he talks, back with the sombrero. Also, the base is now not just angry at Trump. The base is angry at the Democrats. And you're going into a midterm cycle where the base is now directing not all their energy at Trump. They're directing a lot of energy at Democrats. That means they're going to spend money. They're going to primary these people in the House and the Senate. And what happened when the Republican Party did that? They nominated a bunch of crazy people that lost in the general. Remember how we were always supposed to win all these great Senate and House seats, but someone believed they were a witch and they lost? Stuff like that.
God.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to nominate crazy people, and they're going to believe in 15 genders, and then they're going to die in a general election. And that happens. And they have to go through that process because we went through it.
Christine
O'Donnell?
Yes, good
Who
job.
I like, by the way.
On the night that she won that primary, I was on Hannity, and they said, "What do you think, Dana?" And I said, "I think we just lost Delaware." And I got so much hate mail.
Yes.
Thank you.
From the Wiccans. You don't want to mess with the witches, I tell you.
No,
They'll put a spell on you. All right. So, Kaylee, I love when Pelosi goes. She's like trying to find in her head the people to demonize rich billionaires. She doesn't say centimillionaires. Those are the people that have hundreds of millions of dollars, because she's one of them. So she can only say the evil billionaires. It's so convenient that that's not on her list of villains.
Yeah, she also fails to mention her stock trades. Convenient, right? She's got all the buzzwords minus that. I'm still in mourning for that poor wicker chair under Brian Stelter, however.
He's got others.
He's got others, 4 chairs. As I look at this, I just think Democrats, this was never about principle. It was about fighting. What principle were they setting? We want healthcare subsidies. So in doing so, in wanting healthcare subsidies, let's force TSA workers to sleep in their cars. Let's put tens of dollars in the bank's accounts of federal workers. And oh, by the way, let's force the military to take out mortgages, take out loans to pay their mortgages. That's the message. It's a complicated message. It doesn't make sense because this was always about the fight. You go back to March, where Chuck Schumer chose not to shut down the government. The polling at the time in March by a +15 margin said Democrats wanted their party to fight the Republican agenda at all costs. Chuck Schumer forewent that fight. You go to today, after the shutdown, and what do you see? 69% of Democrats still say their party's not fighting enough. They want to see a fight. It's why Spartacus, otherwise known as Cory Booker, stood on the Senate floor and had the longest filibuster ever. The base is yelling, fight, fight, fight. They don't care about the federal workers. They care about the fight, but they would be wise to heed the words of former advisor to Harry Reid, who after the first shutdown didn't happen, Chuck Schumer averted it. He said, Schumer is right. Dems are understandably spoiling for a fight, but this was not it. Fight, but pick smart fights. This was not a smart fight to pick.
Harold, Kaylee makes a great point about the thing about how, like, if your intention is fighting, that's all you're going to get. Like, it's like all we have to, so you actually, there's no way to measure it. You can succeed, but at the end of the day, I hate saying that, it's all you had was a fight. You have nothing to show for it. It's what Scott Adams calls an accidental affirmation. Right. You convince yourself that this is the right outcome when in fact you got nothing.
I said all along that if I were in the Senate, I would have voted early on to open the government and then let's have the fight over the ACA. They chose not to. The jury, it may still be out, but we do have an incredible data point about if Democrats were punished because of the shutdown. Voters voted coast to coast and said no. Democrats didn't lose anywhere last Tuesday, and the shutdown was 25, 30 days plus in. Now, we have a long way to go to next year's election, and we'll see what happens. But voters did not punish Democrats then. 2, the health care thing is interesting to me. For the life of me, I can't understand why, even during this process, both Leader Thune and Speaker Johnson and others, they weren't out talking about, here's what we want to do with the ACA. Because I agree that some of the things that have been added to the ACA over the last few years because of COVID should be taken off. You're providing health care to people who are earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. We got to figure out in some regions of the country that may make more sense than in other regions of the country. But we shouldn't kid ourselves either. Technology and medical breakthroughs and innovation are causing healthcare costs to go up. People are living longer and they're consuming more things, including medical care. So we as a nation have to step back and as much as, and I'm the first to applaud every cure, every medical innovation, every medical breakthrough, but we have to understand what that does to our overall healthcare system, and you combine that with the challenges we face with people who live in rural America and in parts of urban America who don't have access to some of this healthcare. Finally, if I were President Trump, Or if I were Democrats thinking about it, I try to say this all the time. Between now and the end of January, Dana touched on one thing. We're going to get some ending to this or some clarity around it, because the government will close again January 30th if they don't come up with a long-term budget. But you have the Supreme Court decision on tariffs that will likely come in the next week or so. You have the Fed that will decide whether they're going to cut rates beginning December 9th and probably December 10th at that meeting they have there. You have the Epstein files, which has been talked about here. I don't have a strong opinion about this, but it's very likely and clear that the only way we're probably going to get into this is some sort of transparency around it. And finally, this ACA vote will take place in December as well. So there's a lot on the agenda. I think President Trump is smart to get out in the country. I think he's not smart to try to tell people that they are able to afford things and that things are not as expensive as they think. I've said before, there are a lot of politicians who try to tell voters crime is not big in your neighborhood. We don't need the borders shut. And guess what? You're doing much better economically than you think. Most of them are sitting at home. And I would say to Democrats and Republicans, get out, listen to voters, and try to figure out and come up with answers. That's how you win.
Hate to tell you, Harold, I did look at a lot of the Epstein file emails, and you were mentioned in them. There was one where Epstein.
Let's be very clear. I never met this man. You were lying.
There's one where Epstein says, I would really like to buy a Ford. I'm thinking of buying a Ford. I think that you're going to have to answer to that.
This one is not funny to me. What this guy did and what that woman is in jail for, I have no.
I was just doing a play on words, Harold. Lighten up, okay?
I love you.
My goodness, I love you too.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.